was sitting in the pieces of my shattered life that day. Everything I built was crumbling, falling away. My heart was splitting open, couldn't hold it all inside. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking by my side. He didn't shout or thunder, didn't make a mighty sound, just whispered through the cracking, through the breaking ground. Each fragment of my heart heard him calling out my name. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking, took my shame. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking, in the quiet of my pain. Whispered through the shattering like gentle healing rain. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking and made me whole again. He said, son, the breaking's necessary. It's how the light gets in. I'm gonna use these cracks to heal you, wash away your sin. Now I'm not afraid of breaking, not afraid of coming apart. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking, healed my heart. In the breaking we can hear him. When the noise dies down, God speaks softest to the pieces scattered on the ground. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking, gathered every part, put me back together with a brand new heart. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking. Now I'm standing strong. Yeah, God spoke softly where my heart was breaking and taught me his song. Now when my heart starts breaking, I listen for his voice. God spoke softly where my heart was breaking and gave me a new choice. I was walking down the alley like I'd done 1,000 times, heading toward the darkness, heading toward more crimes. But when I looked behind me, my shadow wasn't pale. Not my shadowy few. Follow me stop and stare. It just stood there in the streetlight, wouldn't take another step. Like it knew where I was going and wanted no part of that. I turned around and faced it, said, "What are you trying to say?" The night my shadow refused to follow me that way. The night my shadow refused to follow me into the dark, I'd soldier. It stayed behind in the light, like a wall unspoken. But now my shadow refused to follow me. It made me turn. I walked back to my shadow, stood in that light with shame, realized even my darkness knew I was playing a deadly game. God used my own shadow to show me what was right. And night my shadow refused to follow me into the night. Sometimes what's dark about us knows better than we do. Our shadows can be prophets, showing us what's true. Follow us was true. The night my shadow refused to follow me, I listened to its call, turned away from darkness before I'd fall. The night my shadow refused to follow me. Save my very soul. Yeah, the night my shadow refused to follow me and made me whole. I'd written my name in the dirt beside the railroad track, thinking it was worthless, never coming back. But kneeling in that dusty place, I saw something divine. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, a holy sign. It was right there beside those letters, waiting all along, while I thought my name was ruined. mercy proved me wrong. It traced the letters gently like they mattered to the Lord. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name restored. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name. When I thought I was erased, right there in the dirt, in that humble, lonely place, I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, and lifted it back up. God said, son, your name is written in a better place than dust, in the book of life eternal, sealed with holy trust. Now I know that mercy meets us in the lowest places here. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name drawing near. Mercy goes to the dust where we write ourselves off, sits beside our failures and makes what's lost unlost. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name. Didn't walk on by, stopped and stayed beside me, heard my every cry. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, made it shine like gold. Yeah, I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, no, made it where it's written down. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, on holy ground. Now I know my name has value, no matter where it's written down. I found mercy sitting in the dust with my name, on holy ground. Mile by mile it stripped me down, took away my pride, my reputation, my possessions, everything I'd had, left me empty-handed on that desolate highway. The road took everything before it gave me back that day. I cursed that road for taking, for leaving me with nothing. Didn't understand that emptying was leading to something. It had to clear me out completely, had to make me bare. The road took everything before it gave me back with care. The road took everything before it gave me back, stripped me to the bone, left me with just nothing, standing all alone. The road took everything before it gave me back, and what it gave was grace. And then slowly it started giving back what really mattered most. Not the things I'd lost, but gifts from the Holy Ghost. Peace and joy and purpose, things I'd never had before. The road took everything before it gave me back much more. Sometimes losing everything is how we truly very soul. Now I thank the road for taking everything away. The road took everything before it gave me back and saved me that day. I've been holding on to it for 15 years or more, written on a paper, folded, held close to my core. But standing in the stillness, I just had to let it go. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence down below. Watched it floating downward, spinning through the air, landing in the quiet like an answer to despair. I thought it would make noise, but it settled without sound. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence on the ground. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence, and the silence held it tight. No words were spoken, but everything was right. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence, and God heard every word. I realized that prayers don't need volume to be heard. God catches every whisper, every unspoken word. The silence was his megaphone, amplifying what I couldn't say. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence that day. Silent prayers are loudest in the throne room of the King. The quiet carries burdens that no voice could sing. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence, but it reached the Father's ears, carried all my heartache, carried all my fears. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence. Now I'm finally free. Yeah, a prayer fell from my hands into the silence, and it answered me. Now I drop my prayers in silence, let them fall where they may. A prayer fell from my hands into the silence, and God hears what I can't say. There was a stairway leading upward that I'd passed 1,000 times. Too scared to start the climbing, too scared to make the climb. But one day I stopped running, stood before those stairs. Heaven waited on the steps. I was afraid to climb up there. Thought I wasn't worthy, thought I'd never make it through. Thought the steps would crumble underneath a man like you. But a voice called from the top, said, son, just take one at a time. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb. Never gave up hoping that I'd start the long uphill grind. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb, and called me home. So I put my foot upon that first step, trembling with fear, felt the solid ground beneath me, felt the Father near. Now I'm climbing every morning, one step at a time. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb. The steps we fear the most are the ones that lead us home. Heaven waits at every level, we don't have to climb alone. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb. With patience without ending, never rush my heart or mind. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb. Now I'm heading up. Yeah, heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb, and filled my cup. Now I'm taking steps each day, one at a time I climb. Heaven waited on the steps I was afraid to climb, and I'm doing fine. I've been hiding things in the shadow, burying deep. Thought the darkness was my life, thought it helped me keep all the secrets I was carrying, all the shame and doubt. The darkness held my secret until God called them out. I trusted in the blackness, thought it would protect, keep my failures hidden, keep my sins in check. God walked into that darkness, turned the lights up bright. The darkness heard my secret until God called them out. That night, the darkness held my secrets until God called them out, brought them to the surface, removed every doubt. The darkness held be destroyed when all my sin is showed. But Jesus took them on himself, carried all the load. The darkness wasn't keeping them, just storing them for break. The darkness held my secret until God called them out face to face. What we hide in darkness, God already knows. He calls it into light, so redemption flows. Final, the darkness held my secret until God called them out into his forgiveness, into praise to God. The darkness held my secret until God called them out. Now I'm walking free. Yeah, the darkness held my secrets until God called them out and set me free. The sun was just coming up when I opened up my door. There they were, all lined up like they'd done the night before. Every wrong I'd ever done, every lie I'd ever told, I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, growing old. They said, we've come back to haunt you, to remind you who you are. A sinner and a failure who has wandered way too far. I almost shut the door on them, almost turned away. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, blocking out the light, reminding me of everything that I'd done wrong last night. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, but I wasn't alone. Then Jesus stepped between us, looked them in the eye, said, these are covered by my blood, you have no alibi. They had to turn and leave there, couldn't cross that threshold anymore. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, and then watched them fall. Sins will come to haunt us at the breaking of the day, but Jesus stands between us and sends them all away. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, but Jesus shut the door, Told them they can't enter, can't accuse me anymore. I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn. Then they disappeared. Yeah, I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn, and I got nothing left to fear. Now when morning comes and sins try to return, I saw my sins standing in the doorway at dawn. But there's a lesson learned. I walked up to the water, and the current wasn't there. The riverbed was empty, just stones and dusty air. I fell down on my knees in that dry and barren place. Grace met me where the river stopped running, showed his face. I thought I needed flowing water to be cleansed and made new. Thought I needed something moving to wash away what's true. But standing in that dry bed, I felt the Spirit move. Grace met me where the river stopped running, had nothing left to prove. Grace met me where the river stopped running, in the driest place. Didn't need the water flowing, just needed face to face. Grace met me where the river stopped running and filled me to the brim. God said, son, my grace don't need a river running wild. I can meet you in the desert, meet you as my child. Now I know that grace comes in the driest times of life. Grace met me where the river stopped running, ended all my strife. Grace don't need conditions, don't need perfect times. It meets us where we're desperate, in the dust and grime. Grace met me where the river stopped running, in the empty drive. Prove that God is faithful even when the well runs dry. Grace met me where the river stopped running, made the desert bloom. Yeah, grace met me where the river stopped running, filled up every room. Now I don't need flowing rivers, don't need perfect scenes. Grace met me where the river stopped running, and I know what that means. I thought I'd put him in the ground for good back in '03. Covered up the person that I didn't want to be. But the wind came digging through the grave one Tuesday afternoon. The wind returned the man I buried years ago too soon. He stood there on the roadside looking just like I used to look before I'd changed my ways and thrown away the book. The wind had resurrected forget who I thought was dead and gone. The wind returned the man I buried years ago at dawn. The wind returned the man I buried years ago, brought him back to life, made me face a person behind all the strife. The wind returned the man I buried years ago, and I had to reconcile. I sat down with that man, and we talked about the past, about the dreams he had before the die was cast. God said, son, you can't bury parts of you and move ahead. The wind returned the man I buried years ago. He said, what we bury lies until we make our peace. The wind digs up our past so healing can release. Finally returned the man I buried years ago, and we became one, integrated who I was with who I have become. The wind returned the man I buried years ago. Now I'm finally whole. Yeah, the wind returned the man I buried years ago, and saved my soul. Now I don't bury nothing, let it all come out. The wind returned the man I buried years ago, and removed my doubt. The floorboards creak beneath my knees, worn down by years of prayer, split and weathered by the weight of burden laid down there. But kneeling in those broken boards, I heard a holy sound. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor. Profound. Each crack was like a whisper saying you are not alone. Every saint who's knelt here carried weight just like your own. The broken wood was speaking mercy through its every seam. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor. The stream, I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor, rising through the wood, speaking to my brokenness, saying I was good. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor, and it set me free. I realized those cracks were there from people just like me, falling on their knees in desperation to be free. The floor had soaked up tears and prayers for 100 years or more. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor. Broken floors and churches tell stories of God's grace. Every crack's a testimony of mercy in that place. I cracks of the old church floor, like a choir of saints singing through the broken boards, removing all restraints. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor. Now I'm singing too. Yeah, I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor, and it made me new. Now I kneel on broken floors and listen to them speak. I heard forgiveness in the cracks of the old church floor, for the broken and the weak. I was pressed up in the corner with my face against the brick, sobbing like a child who was broken and so sick. Didn't think that anyone would look for me at all. The night God found me crying against the wall. I'd been hiding from the world, hiding from his light. Thought if I stayed hidden in the shadows of the night, but he came into that corner, found me where I'd fall. The night God found me crying against the wall. The night God found me crying against the wall in my hiding place. He didn't wait for me to come out, just met me face to face. The night God found me crying against the wall and held me through the pain. He said, son, there's no corner you can hide in from my love. I'll find you in the lowest places, I'll come from above. Now I know that God pursues us, even when we're hiding small. The night God found me crying against the wall. God seeks the hidden, finds the ones who hide. He enters every corner and stays right by our side. The night God found me crying against the wall was the night I was reborn. He pulled me from that corner into a brand new morn. The night God found me crying against the wall. He said, come out and see. Yeah, the night God found me crying against the wall, and he set me free. Now I don't hide in corners, don't press against the wall.